Well, hello everybody. We are at the legendary Glamis Sand Dunes with James Woodford of XTravel Suspension, and he's got an amazing new machine here for us to check out with his BVS 5-link front suspension on it and his special no-link rear suspension, and he's going to give us a full walkthrough on the machine. And this is just absolutely amazing engineering, and there's really nothing like this that exists, and these are going to be available to buy and bolt onto your TRX or YFC 450R. So let's dive into it and learn about this thing.
Let's start with the spindle, the double pivot spindle.
The double pivot spindle.
So I call this a double pivot spindle.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So we are eliminating the A-arm, and we have a true 5-link front end. So you have 2 upper linkages. Obviously they're not connected like a standard A-arm. And then we have a lower linkage, front and rear, and then another linkage that we call a trunnion that connects the two.
Wow.
Your 5th linkage is going to be your tie rod here. And what we're doing here is with this double pivot spindle, we don't have a single ball joint top and bottom anymore.
How much does this articulate when it's in motion? I mean, does the angle of this change much at all?
Yeah, so as we're gonna show how the front end articulates.
Oh wow, look at that. That's crazy.
You can see it all moves.
Yeah,
all moving.
moves.
It's not like a standard A-arm
Exactly.
on ball joints. And so everyone asks, does this fix bump steer? And yes, it does fix bump steer because we control the spindle design now, and we actually have, if you look in here, swing set steering.
Swing set steering, that's a cool term.
So we're able,
Wow.
so we're able to control where the tie rod is actually connecting from the chassis to the spindle. So we have 0 bump steer.
0 bump steer, and that's what I noticed on the way over here, that it's just so solid. It feels like it has a damper on it, but it almost feels even more dampened than having a damper. But it didn't feel like a hindrance at all. It felt very smooth, but it was very direct, and that was me going 2nd gear slow. You know, I mean, I wasn't doing anything crazy with it, so I can't imagine what it's like at speed.
Right.
As far as how stable.
To get into the dampener, we actually do not install any dampeners on. There's no steering stabilizer on this machine.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing that we're trying to do is when you hit a rock or a rut that's basically off center of the tire, and what it normally wants to do, if you hit a rock and it wants to jam your tire quickly and take the handlebars out of your hand, this front suspension doesn't let it do that. You can literally drive through and hit a curb with your hands like this on the bars, and they don't go crazy.
They don't dance. Wow. One thing I noticed, kind of somewhat off topic here, was just how offset the front shocks are. Kind of the way it is. I mean, it's not perfectly centered within the 5. I'm assuming that's because of the range of motion and how it articulates.
It's part of that, but that's also the computer basically tells us where the shock needs to be placed, because if the shock is not in the perfect location, it can actually steer the linkage.
Oh, okay,
Right?
that makes sense.
So it's got to be perfect, perpendicular, and there's a bunch of stuff in our patent about all that. So that's huge.
Wow. And then this has rear shocks on the front.
Yes, these are 2.0 bodies. They're Elka, and they are rear shocks that we have on there. We like the bigger bodies, more hydraulic reservoir and fluid in there.
So it's just going to be really able to withstand the most extreme demands that you could place for it. And then also, I'm assuming, since it's Baja focused, this is better for higher temperatures too.
Higher temperatures, less shock fade.
Less shock fade.
Ride, 250 miles, pass it on to your next guy, and it still feels nice and fresh.
Completely wild. That is awesome. Are you going to include a lot of instruction as far as assembly? And
so we're going to actually go to a digital video, and that's going to be the install.
Excellent.
So we feel that that's the easiest way to do it. We hope to basically have the links pre-assembled on the spindle side, and then it kind of comes like a squid to you, and then you just install to the chassis.
Wow. Is there much adjustment within all this, or is it you just kind of bolt it all, torque it down to spec? I mean, are you having to adjust the linkage at all? Like they're essentially kind of like a bunch of tie rods all over the place here. I mean, that's how I'm interpreting it.
On our retail, for the consumer, we're going to basically lock into place, this is how it gets set up. And if there needs to be changes, then we can work directly with the customer on if he's a TT flat tracker and he wants a certain degree of caster gain, and then we can go a little bit into that. But
that's awesome.
For the recreational guy, the racer, it's going to come pretty much locked. It's not that way right now. These are all adjustable, but on our side-by-sides, that's exactly what we've done. It just comes all set, ready to go from
Sweet.
us.
Last year we had seen your original XTravel crossover TRX 450R, which had big crossover A-arms.
It's a full chassis.
Yeah, I was going to say the main benefit here is that you don't have to do a bunch of framework and do a custom frame in order to make that work. And this can bolt onto a TRX 450R from all the model years, doesn't matter, the frames are the same.
It's all good. And you know, to go back a little bit on that crossover design versus this, and the reason why we went this way, it's more feasible for, like you said, we don't have to do a full race chassis, but this actually articulates better, has better geometry, and then all the advantages of the BVS system is really what is going to push this sport forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, the A-arms was invented in 1936, you know, on an automobile, and we've been doing band-aid fixes with better shock tuning and like steering stabilizers, but this is really the answer and the fix for it from our perspective.
Well, I'm beyond excited to experience it more, especially at speed. And talking to the owner of the machine, Nico, he said when you come into these harsh transitions and you kind of G out the machine, he said it's just unlike anything that he's ever ridden or experienced. So I know it's going to just really be a completely new thing. I mean, it's insane to think that, like you said, the A-arm technology is that old.
Right.
And here we are, you know, going on 100 years later.
Right.
And you're finally kind of really bringing this idea.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and you know, we're just really thankful that you're out here and we can share it with you.
Yeah.
And then you can really get a feel for it and, you know, translate what you feel to your audience and to prospective customers.
We should look at the rear end here too. I know that that's got a special unique setup too, if we can maybe dive into that a little bit. So I know that you've coined the term of the rear end, the no-link linkage.
Yes. Yep. It's kind of a confusing one because everyone knows, you know, of a linkage setup, standard, what everyone's running now. And from desert racing and from our experience building bigger vehicles, we translated that to a no-link linkage. So this is what we've come up with for rear end. And what I'm going to say is that it is the most forgiving rear end. So maybe if you're not that top pro, but you want to push and you want to compete, it allows you to feel comfortable hitting that G out, hitting that unexpected riser or whatever you might be riding on, and that's what's key.
It's not only going to be faster, it'll be more efficient and safer. It's kind of hard to get a visual of it here.
Yeah, so a traditional setup, I don't know if you can see my hand, but basically...
I can try to get this down here.
Basically the linkage would come straight across and attach to the frame here. Obviously, we don't use that tab anymore, and what we do is we come back up and we attach at the swing arm bolt up here. So
really? That's where that's attached?
Yeah, so if you look between the motor and the swing arm is where we attach the no-link linkage.
Yeah, that is totally different. It doesn't bolt to the frame directly.
So as we're talking on the rear end, just to clarify a little bit on no-link linkage versus a standard linkage, in the rear shock, there's a term that we called quad buck, and no one likes it. It's when you're basically the rear end packs and then it rebounds and you go flying over the bars. And what's happening is the shock is in a motion ratio on an equation. And so it's set up for, you know, 99% of the things that you're going to hit, and it's going to, you know, come back and you're going to be fine. But it's those unexpected G outs that we call the feared quad buck. And what's happening is with the linkage, it's compressing at a normal rate, and then it goes really fast. And when it goes really fast, because the linkage is making it easier on the shock, then that's when it rebounds and springs you over.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do here is have a slow and very linear rear shock motion linkage, and the rate of the shaft of your rear shock is what we're trying to control, and that's going to eliminate the quad buck. It doesn't matter if you're going to hit a 3-foot square edge, or if you're going to come short and flatland. Those are the things that you want your shock and your rear setup to handle and be able to be consistent on.
That is crazy. I'm really glad you explained that, because I feel like you coined that term, no-link linkage. I don't know if anybody else has ever developed anything like that.
I don't think so.
So I think that some people that are really experienced with all this are definitely going to want to know the more thorough details on how all that works.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you apply other brands of shocks? I mean, I know you're running Elkas, and you guys really work closely with the Elka setup, and then you have a custom shock builder that's revamping the Elka setup for it. Would there be other shock manufacturers that would work?
There are. We just need to work with them. Elko, really worked with us and our engineering team to get the best, motion ratios and design for these shocks. They have all the information. So it's just a matter of, the demand of Fox or, Axis or some of these other companies, get the information over to them and get everything we need to get set up.
Would it be safe to say that you probably couldn't run an air shock setup with this? You have to run a traditional coil spring?
I would recommend a coil spring, but that's just where we come from in the desert. So if you're a track-based guy, maybe that is something that you would, we could work with Fox on.
Well, so far there's only 2 of these in existence, and this is still really kind of fresh and new to market.
Yep.
I guess just out of curiosity, what is someone looking at as far as the price range for buying something like this?
So right now we're low volume. We're very, very high quality. I'd say we're, up there with Trophy Truck. So we're building to order, and it's $3,500 for the front end, but you get your custom spindles, your billet hubs, all 5 linkages, your trunnion, your swing set steering. I mean, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of quality. All FK rod ends. So that's the highest quality heim joints you can get.
Wow.
And that's what we are. We're built for quality, and we need to prove the BVS is the suspension of the future.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that you include pretty much everything except the brakes on the front end, and then also the shocks, obviously.
Yeah. There's an advantage if you want to talk about the Yamaha.
Oh, yes.
Because I can revalve those all stock shocks.
Okay.
Dirt Halo races with stock shocks. So there's actually a cost savings because you don't have to go buy aftermarket.
And that's unique to the Yamaha?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I wish it was sitting right here so you could see it.
Well, I can include some pictures. The shocks on the Yamaha are just much more modern, and I hear a lot of people across the board from all sorts of places saying that the Yamaha shocks are really awesome, and that this day and age with shock building and custom revalving and everything, that you really don't have to go get a full-blown aftermarket shock in order to have this type of a setup. And I guess if you think about buying a traditional setup, let's say you have your Yamaha and you want to do just a normal aftermarket A-arm setup and get some aftermarket shocks, you're going to be in at this cost range, especially if you go with a top shelf setup.
Yes.
If not, if anything, it'd probably cost more if you don't utilize your Yamaha shocks.
Yep, exactly.
So,
and then you also have the deduction of the steering stabilizer too.
Yes.
On these builds. So.
Yeah, and the stabilizers are $500-600 too. So I think you've got it really competitively set up, and then also on top of it, you're getting something that could perform better than anything that's performed before.
Exactly.
So,
and we didn't really talk about rider fatigue.
Yeah.
Hand fatigue. When people are starting to slow down halfway through the race, and our racers are getting faster, that tells you what's going on with the fatigue factor, and that the suspension and the steering, all the work you're putting in to keeping the quad under control with the ruts, the rocks, you land on one tire, it's constant.
Yes, and then all the vibration too. I couldn't feel any vibration on the way over here at all. It's just really, it's smooth.
Yes.
It's very direct. I know it's going to be very confidence inspiring. I'll be on it. I normally like to take my time when I'm experiencing something, especially something that's completely new like this, but I feel like it won't take me very long before I'm like eyeballing stuff I normally won't even look at.
You don't want to go hit stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's completely wild. It's definitely piqued my curiosity, and you guys really do put everything through its paces down here in this environment, especially down in Baja. There's probably no rougher terrain that people ride and race through.
It's true.
So,
everyone used to go down and say, is it Baja tough? Is it Baja proven? And that used to be the major marketing for most race products. So that's exactly where we're able to test and get these things to get dialed in. So
that's completely awesome. Well, I am super stoked to spend some time here this afternoon riding one of the best places on the planet on one of the most amazing machines that exists right now.
Yep,
so
exactly.
This is super cool. Thank you so much to James.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this overview of this amazing machine. I know there's going to be more to come, and he's just going to keep refining and honing this setup in, and it's just going to get better and better. So hopefully we start seeing more and more people adopting this technology, and maybe someday the manufacturers could even look at this technology, and especially within the side-by-side market, and that could really change the game and hopefully get you guys more business so you can develop even more and make it more available for everybody.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. This is great. That's on. is going to be the first time I'm going to really let her eat in spots. And we just did our walk around, and after learning about this thing, woo-hoo-hoo! Let's get after it, dude. BVS TRX450. Wow, this is steep. Oh, dude, it is butter. Good power. Very linear. Pulls the front end a little bit. Oh, wow. Dude. It is so... I mean, this is not terribly choppy, but one hand, like, no issue at all. I feel like I would quickly be riding this and really not be concerned with what I'm riding over. Dude, this is so sick. Oh my gosh. Dude. It's almost like the terrain isn't even there. Dude, this is so sick. I love how it runs. There's no surprises. Not a crazy power band, just strong power. Here we go. Look at that transition. I feel very comfortable on it already. I can't really keep up with that. These local guys, man. Coming down through the transitions is totally true. It doesn't hit so hard like a conventional setup. This is so easy to ride. The steering is very consistent across the board, but it almost feels a bit more hardcore than the damper. I run my dampers pretty soft. You know, I like to feel them, but it's just personal preference. Let's ride some rough stuff. Wow. Dude, it's just easy.
Can you believe that?
It's just easy. Like I found myself looking way ahead and not caring about what's directly in front of me. You know, I'm reading a little bit. You got to be somewhat conscious, but I could see as your confidence builds and you really learn the terrain, you can just go, man.
You're gonna get super comfortable. It's gonna be so cool.
This is just so balanced.
Right?
Yeah, it's just power's perfect. The way it rides, you know, I think I could wheel it if I wanted. You could jump it if you wanted, but it doesn't do anything when you don't want it to. Exactly. Unbelievable.
The off chatter, it's just like there's nothing back in your hand.
I rode through a bit with just one hand, just holding on, just eats it up. That's epic, dude. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. People got to experience that, man. I'm so excited to ride it more. This is crazy. Okay. So smooth. That's probably my number one thing. No surprises. But on a purpose-built level, there's so much more endurance to be gained by having this. I mean, the more smart you ride, the smoother and more energy you're going to save. Wow, this is so choppy, and it's just, look at that. Really strong. It's got like a bunch of top end work. You know, within Baja you want performance, but they're also pushing the machines to the limit. They want maximum reliability as well. I want to say the motor's built by the Department of Power. That might be it. I know it says DP on there, but motor runs great. Hasn't hiccuped one time. Wow. I I can look so far ahead and not be worried about it. Wow, look at that. Dude, it didn't even compress through there. Wow. The awesome thing is too is you're really ripping and maybe you read the earth wrong. This setup could save you, like literally. Keep the rubber side down. Dude, this is so rough and it is just eating it alive. I mean, I am not in riding shape and I've been riding pretty hard here for several minutes. And I know the machine's doing an awesome job because all that's really feeling fatigued is my hands, and they're just straight up not used to holding on to handlebars. Man, I could just keep going. No way. You can just straight pin it through the crud. This is worthy of a lot of wows. It just took everything I threw at it. I felt like I didn't even push the thing hard at all. I could have hit a lot of that stuff going 10 miles an hour faster. It would have been no problem. Nico, this is sick. It is like the only thing that sore is my hands because I'm not used to riding. It's been a month or two. Yeah. But like, oh man, I ride within my means. And this could just do so much more, you know?
It's wild how it works, isn't it?
It is, and there was not one moment where the front end did anything unpredictable.
Yeah.
It was so easy, and I did notice, like you said, you come into those compressions, man, it just eats it up, like no problem at all. I just rode it quite a bit. I mean, I couldn't have rode that much on my quad through that. I would have been tired. I would have had to take a break, 100%. That is so cool, man. Follow you? Alright, it is day 2 and we had to wait out some gnarly wind this morning. We got a solid squad right now too. A bunch of local guys. James and Connor are in the XTravel Razor. It's such a cloud. I'm still learning what it's capable of, and I'm not a pro rider by any means, but this thing can do way more than I can do to it. It's so fun to be on something so capable. It's nuts to not be able to see the ground, but to be so confident in this machine that you can really ride almost blind. Fastest I've gone on this almost through terrain like that. Wow, the travel is insane. It doesn't really seem to matter what this thing's riding on. Just wow. I'm in 5th gear right now. What are you thinking? You want to try to tandem?
Yeah, usually this is a nice little whoop section right here, but it doesn't look that big to me.
You want to go up here and I'll run side by side, and we could turn around and go back the same way and try to do the same thing, kind of just, yeah? And I'll try to get next to you. You can't go 100 miles an hour, man. This thing can't go that fast. Composed, man. takes some energy. That's the fastest I've pushed this thing so far. That's wild, man. It danced a little. I know my body position is key though. It is so cool to ride something so made for that. Got me breathing, and I'm on a phenomenal quad for it. Here we are. Here's different terrain for this. Now the steering is very direct. There's no slop in it at all. Better than I expected. Dude, the Baja guys, they gotta drink like 5 gallons of water a day. Dude, I think it's, you know, like the front end is obviously amazing because it's like I like how if you're precise and on, it's just so flawless. Like I don't think there's anything better as far as how well it holds its composure. There was stuff that was staggered. Yeah. I wouldn't do that on my quad. Right. But the rear end, I think, is the most special in the whoops because you never lose that contact patch. There was some I went into where I was like, I hope this does what it's supposed to, because I mean I'm just kind of a normal dude on this, so like
it allows me to keep up with top pros because I'm confident that I'm not going to get bucked. They might be able to dial in for a track that's so perfect because they have the, you know, leverage ratio and all that, but dude, it just, no matter what I throw at it, I always feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the only way I could see myself getting in trouble would be if, for some reason, I had to do something quick at speed. I mean, because it isn't snappy. Well, it actually feels a little looser now. I don't know if it's loosening up because it's been sitting.
Well, all the hinds are like brand new.
So it does feel looser than it did when I rode earlier, but, you know, I'm kind of white knuckle because it's just, you know, it's pretty intense for me to be doing this. It's not very used to it.
That you don't have to be white knuckled at all.
I know, I'm telling myself, just relax, hold on, let the thing do its thing. The seat is, I mean, it's the combination of everything makes this totally feasible, but it's pretty awesome.
That looks so cool, like sitting around right here. Get a little careful. I can't believe how these slide. I almost spun out over there. Thank you for taking sand hits. Well, both of you guys. That's like my favorite part of the job.
go through some of this stuff without being able to see the ground and not be on this quad, dude. Right there. Whoa! Dude, the front end, man. Day 3 at Glamis, and the goal is to do a bunch of unique camera angles for this XTravel machine. We're going to try to do some slow motion on all the articulation of the joints on this. It's going to be really cool. So we're working our way over to the Sand Highway, which is on the north end of the Glamis, and the goal is to find some really deep ruts and whoops to really put this thing through its paces and try to get some good footage of it. So this is the Sand Highway. Lots of staggered bumps. The back end is so composed. These are deep. I can push it faster, I feel. It goes against my instincts though. Crooked at speed makes me a little nervous, but that's also my experience level too. Unbelievable. Woo! That is a workout. Holy crap. I'm gonna turn this off. I just need a breather. Oh, yeah. You know, I guess it's interesting trying to break down what I'm comfortable with. Like, I think once they get pretty big and they're like not real quick together, I feel like I could get air, and you don't really want to get air. You want to stay on the ground, it seems. So, like, I mean, I was a little less, I don't know if it's because I got rocky and firmer. Yeah. I just didn't feel like...
No, yeah. Traditionally, when you get in a set of whoops, you know, you kind of want to wheelie some, and then you kind of roll and double, and just get on top, and, you know, but that's my style. Everyone rides a little bit different.
Well, in order to get on top, it's full commitment. Yeah. And then I just, in the back of my mind, can't help but think of, like, you know, if I do... It could be 1 in a million, but I mean, it could buck if I did something wrong. Maybe not. Maybe it really wouldn't buck at all.
I think a swap would be more I think a swap would be the most issue that you'd have.
Yeah, as far as it get...
You're not going to get kicked.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen anything close to a kick.
Yeah, and I haven't either. I just, in my mind, it's like trippy.
Right. It's so weird coming from a quad where that's the biggest thing in the back of your head where you're going, what's going to kick me?
I'm never really worried about the front end.
Right.
This front end, the way it's set up, I'm not working that hard to hold on to it.
Isn't that weird?
It is really weird.
The more you can psychologically, like, just, I got to relax my hands. You know, not like white knuckle. It's a weird feeling. Same with this. I could have driven through that like this.
That's amazing.
You know?
And I felt, compared to the weekend, because I've been a little white knuckly,
yeah.
I've been telling myself to ride looser. I'm tired from cardio right now.
Yeah.
I'm not cramped up,
right.
which is nice. Just stay loose, and you know, a lot of it's in your legs absorbing as well, but the rear end is absolutely phenomenal.
Right.
I mean, it's probably the most mind-blowing thing. The front end is amazing when you do your G-outs and everything, and then it's so composed and you can't exceed it.
Right.
But the rear end is unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Right.
So it is the complete package that makes it a trophy truck.
Right. And there might be a little jump or two, right?
It's so funny because I don't want to jump it.
Right.
You know, like.
That's so weird. Usually you like finding a little jump.
I think in order to really jump this thing, you'd have to really smoke something and have a really aggressive lip.
Yeah.
You got to be going really fast, like twice as fast as I would on my quad to probably get the equivalent amount of air. Like you should have seen riding with Ian yesterday. He's popping off some of these little knolls, like getting, you know, solid pops.
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave the ground.
Really?
Yeah, I was just soaking everything up. So if anything, I was like, I want to jump, but I can't. It won't leave the ground.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's such a carefree way to ride.
Right.
Yeah, and like the more, I mean, if I had this for a year,
Yeah.
like I know I'd be just like a madman on it. Like it needs to go faster. I need more power, you know, like
Right.
I'm glad we're on the third day doing this because I wouldn't have been even just this comfortable on the first day.
Right.
You know, I'm still learning what it can do and what I can do, what I'm comfortable with. And, you know, I do have to walk afterwards and go home.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's the most important.
it is. One thing I haven't really tried to do with this machine is jump it very much. So we're kind of experimenting here. I doubled one. This thing is incredible. I'm pretty shocked. I mean, I consider myself an experienced rider to the extent that I can normally get on stuff, and I've ridden a lot of different terrain types. I'm not a racer, but this thing is just, man, the confidence with it, the safety. I think that's the best part. I can push my abilities because this thing can do more than me, and I'm safe. That's just so cool. Wow. Processing right now. Just wicked. All right, so we just moved the camera down here, and you guys are going to see this footage now. We're going to try to get all the articulation, and I want to say he called it the swing set steering. I mean, the linkage in here and everything is just wild. So we're going to do standard speed and 240 frames per second through some of this terrain, see what all this looks like when it's in action. My confidence is building with this thing. it starts to get a little dicey, back off the gas, it recomposes itself. I'm not gonna lie, this is the easiest quad I've ever done that with. I can't believe I did it. I normally end up coming up, you know, like it's this, not me. I'm just giving it gas. So now we need to do the straightaway with the long lens with both machines, and we'll go further up.
Up in that better spot.
Yeah. Wow, that was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Epic way to end this adventure. So beyond grateful for the experience. It was so sick to ride this quad for so long too. Thank you so much for letting me put so much seat time on it, Nico. Awesome machine. You don't need this kind of technology to have fun, but holy crap, does it change the experience. Alright, this might be the last couple dunes. So until next time, Glamis. Woo is right, man.
Just right?
It's bittersweet.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. As this video ends, I just wanted to give an extra big shout out to James with XTravel Suspension and to Nico for letting me ride his machine. You guys took such great care of us, and it was such a priceless experience to come out and rip Glamis again, and this machine just really blew my mind. It was so great to have so much time to really ride and get used to it. I can't believe I ended up leaving wanting my own XTravel quad someday, so maybe I'll be lucky enough to make that happen, and I'm definitely super stoked to see what the future holds for this technology and for the brand. More people need to experience this thing. It was just absolutely awesome. I also wanted to give an extra shout out to Connor for doing all the extra filming and filming out of the side-by-side. I know that it was a bit of a bumpy ride a few times holding on to the camera, but you really did an awesome job, and we have a lot of great content here because of your efforts, so thank you so much, man. And thank you so much to all of our followers for watching and commenting and supporting us on our website, buying parts and merch. You guys really keep this going, and we're just so grateful all the time, so thank you so much. And I guess until next time, you guys have a great one, and thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Kind of check this out, it's all untracked.
Oh,
Yeah.
right now.
Okay. Woo-hoo-hoo. It has been windy and it's dying down, and look at all this smooth sand.